Nilam, and I'm currently a Chinese medicine student studying in the University of Hong Kong. Today, I'm very happy to be here to introduce Chinese medicines, which is an important cultural heritage of China. First, I would like to ask, how much do you know about traditional Chinese medicines? Do you know about the yin-yang theory, the five elements theory? Before I studied Chinese medicines, I know nothing about these professions. So after enrolling into this program, I found it like a whole new world to me. Unlike Western medicines, most of the people might get the chance to know about some basic knowledge of Western medicines if they have studied science at junior school, biology, chemistry, physics at high school. But for Chinese medicines, what people know might just be the way that we treat patients like acupuncture, 推拿, cupping, without knowing the basic theories behind them. If now I'm asking you to use one word to describe Chinese medicines, which one would you like to use? Think about it. Would you use mysterious, traditional, ancient, or non-scientific? Some people ask me if Chinese medicine really works, as there is no scientific experiments to prove the efficacy of the treatments or the decoctions before it's developed or before it's used on people. This always reminds me of what a professor always told us. He said, Chinese medicine is never a branch of science. Even though there are more and more studies and research trying to prove the efficacy of our treatments, but those are different from the ones for Western medicines. The clinical trials and the research for Western medicines are done before their treatments or a pill is developed. But those are done for Chinese medicines nowadays are for the existing treatments and decoctions that we have been using. Even though we don't have those kind of scientific experiments like Western medicines, but we still have our kind of experiments when we are developing our decoctions and treatments. Though successful cases in treating many different kinds of diseases for thousands of years has led to the decoctions and treatments that we have been using nowadays. Traditional Chinese medicines is the wisdom of our ancestors accumulated for more than 2,000 years. And it's not just about medical knowledge, but it's also about ancient Chinese philosophy, astronomy, and even geography. There are three distinguished characteristics or features about Chinese medicine that I would love to share with you and let you know more about these amazing assets of China. The first one is the theory of holism. Holism has two meanings. The first one is the unity of human and the natural environment, which what we call 天人合一, and this guides us in making diagnosis and treatments. When patients come to us, not only will we care about their chief complaints, but also we will take many other factors into account, such as their eating habit, living environment, and also the weather at the moment in order to make the right diagnosis of the syndromes of or the disease. And the second one is that our human body being an organic whole. Based on the theory that human bodies have the organs that are functionally interactive, we want to help every related organ and help the body to get back to a more balanced state instead of just focusing on the localized illness. The second feature that I would love to share with you is our syndrome-based diagnosis and treatments. Anyone here know what syndrome is? You might know what a disease is, but what syndrome is? Syndromes are the different stages of a disease or different features of a disease. We conclude a syndrome from the characteristics of the symptoms that the patients are currently having. Let's take coughing as an example. When we cough, we may have sputum. Different colors of sputums might already be indicating different syndromes, like whitish sputum might be indicating coldness, yellowish sputum might be representing hot. Of course, we might not just take one symptoms into account. We have to conclude all the symptoms that we collect from the patients in order to make the right diagnosis of the syndromes. What is the most important point of this feature is that we can use the same treatment for the same syndromes in different diseases, while there can be different treatments for different syndromes in one disease. And that means if there are hundreds of people having headache, there can be hundreds of ways to treat them. And I found this feature making Chinese medicines more cater to each patient's needs. The last feature that I would love to share is our emphasis on the way of thinking more than memorizing the medical knowledge. I believe for most of the medical professionals, having good memory is always important because there are so much medical knowledge that we have to memorize in order to provide professional medical services. But in traditional Chinese medicine training, having the correct way of thinking is also very important. And that is what we call 辨證思路. In making a diagnosis of syndromes, we need to make use of the yin-yang theory, the 5 elements theory, and the linkage between different organs in order to explain the causes and the mechanisms of a illness. Even we have memorized all the herbs, all the acupunctures, and know what the patient is suffering from, you can make a right diagnosis of a disease. If we cannot make a right diagnosis of a syndrome, our treatment will not be correct. Therefore, having the correct way of thinking is very important in traditional Chinese medical treatments. All the features that I've just mentioned have given Chinese medicine's advantage in treating many different kinds of diseases, especially those newly discovered diseases. Let's take COVID-19 as an example. This pandemic is a newly discovered disease. Before any Western medical treatment is developed, Chinese medicine has already been able to treat patients by identifying their syndromes based on the symptoms that they are having, without diagnosing the disease. We have been treating patients with the decoctions that were previously used in the same syndromes of other respiratory diseases, such as SARS. The decoctions like 莲花清瘟胶囊 have been widely used in China during the outbreak of COVID and proven effective in treating patients with milder symptoms and preventing the deteriorations of the disease. This pandemic has indeed allowed more people to see the benefits and advantage of traditional Chinese medicines. Nowadays, Chinese medicines become more and more popular in the world, especially acupuncture treatment, 推拿, and cupping. So I think in order to pass on and push this important Chinese assets to another level, I think that Hong Kong Chinese medicine practitioners have an important role in it, since there are many medical terms like in Chinese medicines cannot be directly translated into English. So those Chinese medicine practitioners who understand Chinese and at the same time can speak English fluently can deliver and introduce the theories and the knowledge of Chinese medicines to the foreigners in a better way. Apart from just introducing Chinese medicine to the world, Promoting interactions and cooperations between Western and Chinese medicines is also important in promoting and developing traditional Chinese medicines. Since there are different Western medical courses at the universities in Hong Kong, Hong Kong Chinese medicine practitioner can make use of the Western medical knowledge that they learned at school to cooperate with Western medical doctor more often and develop more integrated treatment for the better goods of our patients. I believe that this can also help the patients and people to see the benefits and advantage of traditional Chinese medicines. Traditional Chinese medicines is not just a kind of medicines, but also a great asset of Chinese culture and the wisdom of our ancestors. I hope that we, Hong Kong Chinese medicine practitioner, can take an active role not just in passing on this cultural heritage, but also develop it in a local and also an international level. Thank you so much for joining me here today. And I hope that after today, everyone can get to know more about Chinese medicines and know the value behind this amazing Chinese culture. And I wish you all can stay healthy and happy. Thank you.